everybody, and welcome to Reviews from Hell. I am your host, AJ, and I am joined by the co-host, Steve Wandling, today,
Yeah.
who it's been a while since we've done an episode of Reviews
It's
from Hell.
been a
Our
minute.
schedules have not met in a very long time for us to do this, but now
Yeah.
I think this is the perfect movie to do it with.
Oh, yeah.
Scream 6.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. I went to go see it in 3D 40X
Oh, you
opening night.
did? How was
Yeah.
that? Was that a blast?
It was, but you know what? For some reason, I'm still kind of like shook or shocked when a lot of parents take their like 7-year-olds or 13-year-olds and 8-year-olds to go see a movie like this.
Yeah.
And and because it was so taboo for me growing up around that age to even watch horror stuff like this. So maybe that's still like the old like stability or like the culture I grew up in the South, you know? So I'm kind of like,
it's all relative. Like I can't sit here and say that like I didn't like seek out horror movies as a kid and that I wasn't totally into it by the time I was a kid,
right.
you know? But at the same time, a lot of it was taboo. A lot of it was me sneaking around. I grew up, like you said, a lot of it's probably cultural. I grew up in this coal-filled southern West Virginia, and it's very much the Bible Belt. And my parents were pretty liberal around here, but by anywhere else,
I'm not that different from where you grew up because I grew up in North Carolina for like the past 20 years or so, even though when my dad was in the Navy, we were mainly in the North, like Florida and Baltimore and stuff like that. But I was still so young, I was moving around all the time. So it's not like I knew what I could watch from like a year now. You know what I'm saying? So
totally.
I never kept up with movies like that when I was young. So maybe it's just different now where, you know, a lot of these movies are accepted for kids to watch whenever they're, you know, having their guardian.
And I also think that something like Scream I don't think that it is as bad as honestly what you can see on your phone. You know, I think that in terms of, so my thoughts on that are, I knew that when I was a kid, I watched all that stuff and I was obsessed with it. And eventually, you know, my mom and dad, like, eventually kind of had to relent because they were either going to have to keep grounding me for watching stuff or they were just kind of have to be there and be able to chaperone it along. And then that kind of bloomed into things like for my birthday, I would get like Dog Day Afternoon or something, a movie that my dad had liked or that my mom had liked or something like that. It was R-rated.
We were probably too young to even understand what Dog Day Afternoon was.
Yeah,
really
that was my first time. You know, as a matter of fact, you know, cinema, you know, I don't know who put the idea in my head about cinema, you know, opening your world and also being able to just travel and things like that when you may not be able to actually travel. You know, cinema is a passport and a cultural passport. And that was definitely the first time I was like 9 or 10 and the world was a lot different then. But that was the first time Chris Sarandon, they were trying to pay for money for his sex change operation. He was trying to pay. Yeah, a guy that was married was trying to pay for his gay lover's sex operation. And you're watching the movie and you don't know that going into it if you just watch it blind. And it's such a good movie too. And that's all true.
Watching it as a kid or even a teenager, then you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's it's so much about that movie pops in my head immediately now. I want to watch it. But yeah, you know, that was the first movie my mom and dad ever saw on a date. Yeah. That was the first.
Or like another messed up movie you can kind of watch as a kid is Taxi Driver. Now, when that
was big for me too. That was a little bit later. That was when I was like 12. I had an older brother who was 5 years older than me, and he went to college around the time I was 12. And that's also the time DVDs became a thing, like period. And so
like 2001, 2002,
like 98, like 99 actually. And
really? Okay, yeah. See, we were late to that DVD train. Yeah.
Oh, we had a DVD player, and I remember my brother had a stack of stuff that was like Apocalypse Now, Taxi Driver. Oh gosh, like stuff like that. I'm blanking out now, but there was other stuff too. But the Blair Witch Project, just this stack of
Oh man, that would
DVDs.
have been a blast on VHS
That's a
too.
big movie for me. I saw that. That's my number one theatrical experience. Whenever somebody asked that question, opening day, I was 14, maybe even 13 still. My friend's birthday party. We all went to the movie theater. We stood in line. There was a line out the building the day the Blair Witch Project
Yeah, because
opened.
that's before online ticketing orders and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
totally. No, that wasn't even a thing. Yeah, it was 1999, and we went in there. It was packed, and everybody was freaking out and screaming at the theater like it was like an experience we all had to.
Because that rejuvenated the
exactly.
found footage experience at the time too.
Oh yeah, yeah. It wasn't even like a thing that like I knew about or was aware of found footage before the Blair Witch Project. Like that.
Speaking of which, found footage movies, did you hear Faces of Death is getting a remake?
I did. You know, we that was like a taboo thing. I remember more like my brother and some of his
man, I
friends.
still haven't watched it.
I have seen little bits of it, and it's not real. It's actually not real.
I know it's not real, but I
still...
told one of my best friends at the time, I'm like, dude, this is fucking bad karma if we watch this, man. I don't even want to, man.
It had that vibe of it. It had that like almost like because the whole video nasty's craze and everything.
Right,
I love all this stuff, but this was a little different. This had this like urban legend feel around it, and it just reminds me again of being a little kid and my older brother and then being in that neighborhood and all his friends going on and on about like, oh, you like horror movies, you haven't seen anything until you see Faces of Death, man. They really kill you. And you're like, what? And you're like 8 years old, like, because the only thing that I found solace in like A Nightmare on Elm Street just destroyed me. There were a couple movies
but watching that as a grown up, or like how old we are now, we're not really grown up.
I can't believe I watched it in grade school. I can't believe I watched it in grade school. Can't believe I watched it in grade school. It's so scary.
If you watch that now, you kind of notice the kids are more like detectives in that film than the actual detectives.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Because like John Saxon's the detective in there, and he's like, they have their heads up their ass the whole time. Yeah, they can't accept the fact that Freddy's back. It's coming back. They won't listen to their crazy teenage daughter and her, crazy friends, including Johnny Depp. They're all just crazy 80s kids. And so the parents are just terrified. But they're all fucked up. Like the mom's at home drinking booze all day and popping pills. And the dad's not even there. He's just at the office, it seems like. Like, it seems like he doesn't even come home. And then remember, the thing I thought was most fucked up about the parents in The Nightmare on Elm Street is when and then we'll get off this, but when John Saxon uses Nancy as bait to get Tina's boyfriend that's on the run for her murder. And she's like, Dad, did you use me as bait? And he's like, oh, you shouldn't even been here. That's like, it's like, he didn't say he didn't. He totally did. That's how they arrest that guy, is they get him talking to Nancy. Yeah, it's like, oh man, that's pretty rough as a dad,
And like what? They jumped down and like some bushes are around the corner in that scene, right? Like,
they followed.
What?
They followed Nancy. Yeah, they tailed Nancy and just kind of held back until they.
They are lucky that changed the game, because some of that screenplay was really bad. Like, especially with the adult monologue, it is so terrible.
Oh, I bet. There's all kinds of stuff like that where it's like the dialogue is got to bring somebody in to do the dialogue a lot of times.
But like, if they didn't have the kids on the teenage actors in that movie, it would be a piece of shit.
Well, hey, it's one of those things where like everything, because New Line Cinema is like the house that Freddie built. When I see that logo anytime, that's what I think of. And it's like they just like building something out of nothing. And there's like got to be like 50 alternate timelines where like one wrong thing happened here and you don't get that movie made. I think if you get any movie made, it's a fucking miracle. And
I love the cameo of Lynn Say in that, as well as the teacher, the study hall teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. That's like the scariest scene for me in that movie, is when he's like reading if I didn't have dreams, and like that leads to like the teen in the body bag, and like running in the halls and all that.
Movie is when they were doing the sleep study test on her.
Oh, and
that's
she
what
has
got
to
me the most, dude.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
has to wake her. That's where she has to wake herself up. Yeah, and because you're like, whoa, blood. You're like, okay, because that teaches you how the world works too. You're like, oh wow, it burns her in the real world too if she gets burned in the dream. I used to have so much fun, and I have to confess, I spent a good part of my childhood probably watching that whole series. I watched all those movies probably a million times. Even some of them I didn't
I
even.
only,
The whole series to me.
Mick Strawn is a good friend of the show. I
Yeah.
interviewed him a couple times, and of course, he was the production designer of 3, 4, and I think he got fired like maybe a quarter into 5.
Well, he did so much in that franchise. He and his sister
Yeah, he
both.
really helped rejuvenate it after 2 bombed so badly.
I got to talk to him once, and then whoever I was working for, something for whatever reason, I'm sure it was my fault, but it didn't get published at the time. And I always thought it'd be cool to talk to him again because it was just a
Oh,
great
dude,
talk.
if you bring up my name, he would totally be cool to talk to you again.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to. He's a great guy. But no, go ahead. Sorry.
Because the second time I interviewed him up here on Infamous Interviews, we talked about his job on Boogie Nights.
Oh, cool. I didn't know. See, I did not know he
he
worked on Boogie Nights.
Yeah, he did the prosthetic penis on a Marky Mark at the time.
No shit. That is fucking awesome. That is so cool. See, that's how I remember talking to him went, right? Because it was just like I don't think it was either on Zoom, it doesn't matter, but it was I actually got to speak with the man and listen to him tell stories,
And
which was like
he's a really good storyteller as well.
Oh, like what I just did where I went, holy shit, that's so fucking cool. That was like the whole thing. If you could find my audio, which I think I may still have the audio of it. So what I should do is just fucking publish it on Creepy Lovely. I have a blog site. There's nothing saying I can't. But yeah, that's the audio is him telling these amazing stories. And then like me every so often going, holy shit, that's fucking cool.
Like I would love him to co-host a Small Castle event with Kevin Smith and talk about his production design career. Like that would be fucking amazing.
Get him
Those
on
two having a conversation.
Him and Mick Garris. Has he ever been on Mick Garris? I'm sure he has been on Mick Garris.
Oh man, that would be great too.
Surely he's been on there. I'm gonna have to look now. I'll have to look later. Totally forgot what movie you were talking about. What movie are you talking
about? Back to Scream 6.
Oh yeah, Scream 6. Scream 6.
Sorry guys, we might as well change this podcast name to ADHD Review Podcast.
That's okay. It's like it can be the Mick Strawn and Scream 6 Appreciation Pod. It's totally fine. No, Scream 6.
Like, why the hell am I being brought up?
I know. It's like, what are you doing? That's fine, whatever. It's all good things. Did you want to lead off saying some things about Scream 6?
Yeah, so I went to go see this in 40X 3D like I brought up before.
Yeah.
And you know what? It did not have that many effects in 3D in 40X, and I was kind of surprised about that because you remember when we went to go see A Quiet Place 2 in 40X?
I do.
And like whenever the aliens got killed, we got sprayed with water. Like
I wasn't quite prepared for that. I wasn't quite prepared for all that madness.
Like acted as a gut kind of reaction to us, like right?
Yeah,
so we kind of feel their gut spraying, right? Yeah. So like when I went to go see Scream 6, I don't know if it was because I ended up sitting too close or what, but I just did not get a lot of those effects or anything we got from A Quiet Place 2, even though there is wind and the chairs were still throwing me around as much, if not more, than when my dad and I went to go see Black Widow in 3D 40X as well.
Yeah. No, that's the only time I got to see 40X. When we saw Scream 6, I somehow, man, every time I would get on social media and see Scream 6, I would scroll real fast. And I was like,
right.
I told my girlfriend lives in Charlotte, and she was about 300 miles away. And before she wasn't coming into Wednesday. The movie opened the Friday before. And so I did go see 65, but I was like, okay, I gotta Scream 6 spoilers. I gotta put blinders onto the world, and I thought I wasn't gonna make it, but I did. I made it all the way to Wednesday without anything getting spoiled to me.
And
I
that's
saw
impressive,
somebody.
man.
I was worried because I saw somebody post some comment that said something like, "Holy shit, 3/4 of Scream 6 takes place in somebody's head." And I scrolled up real quick, but I was like, "Oh shit, I hope I didn't just ruin some wild experience." And so I was
what
kind
did
of
you
waiting for
think
something.
of, what
Huh?
did you think of Mike Sonoda's new single for Scream 6?
I love the singles. I heard it in the movie, and I've heard it by itself, and the Demi song too. Like, I just like the fact that that's still a thing, because that just harkens back to every Scream movie.
Freddy versus Jason, when they have a heavy rock influenced soundtrack
Yeah,
to it as well.
yeah, all those movies back then, when I was a kid in junior high and stuff, like Scream and Scream 2, those soundtracks, everybody had those. Probably the third one too. Everybody had those soundtracks. They were great. And I know that even Scream 4, they tried to do something too with people. I remember they've got the sounds in there, and some of that stuff doesn't work as well. But yeah, you've always got, and of course Nick Cave, Red Right Hand. So you've got that. Do have like a rich tradition of music in there, and so it's cool. It's special to get something from like Shinoda. I know, for like his fans, because you don't get
Of
something
what
that much.
happened
So.
and everything, yeah.
Yeah, I do, and I just like the idea of a Scream album to go with the movie because it just feels right. It takes me back. But okay, so opening scene wise, I assume we're gonna spoil. Are we going spoiler? Because I can't.
I mean, it's been out a couple weeks, or maybe a week or so
okay?
now, maybe 10 days or so. Yeah.
We're gonna talk about it. So from here on in,
If
go
you
watch
don't,
the
if you
movie and come
haven't seen
back.
it yet, if you're rating from Paramount Plus or PVOD, whatever, just go ahead and exit out right now.
Yeah. Opening scene, as soon as I seen Samara Weaving, this radio silence. She was star of Ready or Not. I think the movie that got them the Scream deal in the first place.
Oh yeah.
As soon as I saw her, I was just kind of like, "Oh, this is fun. She's going to be the opening kill girl." And obviously, the surprise is she gets killed, and then the guy pulls off his mask instead of it cutting to the
Flash
title
Gordon,
card.
dude. How about that?
Huh? Who?
Flash Gordon from the new Spider-Man movies.
Oh yeah. The bully kid in that. Yeah.
Tony Ravioli, or however you pronounce it.
What's his name?
It's like Tony something. He's also an M. Night Shyamalan's Apple TV Plus series Servant.
Cool. Yeah, I need to watch that still. Yeah, no,
it's great.
Yeah, I do. I'm definitely gonna watch Servant. But right before it, usually he would say the line "kill" and then it'd cut to the title. Well, it doesn't cut to the title. Obviously, it stays, and he takes off his mask, and the killer is just revealed to the audience, which is a whole new territory for Scream to do. And right before he did that, my mind said they're gonna do that. I called it as it was happening. I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe they're doing this! Holy shit!" And I thought that was really cool, really fun. Subversive in a way that they've never done before. And then you immediately kill him off and reveal two more killers, or reveal that there's another killer, that that he was part of the first kill. It's already getting convoluted. Right. So then that kind of explains the movie, I think, in a nutshell for me. Is Scream 6 is a blast, I thought, when
all the way through. It never lets up. Even for like the 2-hour runtime, it never feels slow. It never feels like there's a step back or anything.
Yeah, I like the set pieces a whole lot. Like when you're going, the convenience store, where they're. I think they released that in a trailer part of that, so people know what I'm referring to. But it's also Ghostface with a shotgun is going to cut my own head off there. Sorry, but Ghostface with a shotgun. So that whole,
that's what Ghostface does sometimes, yeah.
And you've got the Judgment Night kind of esque. It reminded me of Judgment Night, the '90s film with Jeremy Piven, Emilio Estevez, and Cuba Gooding Jr., and Steve Dorff, Dennis Leary, where
and I was like, Emilio.
Yeah. You have to get the ladders and go go cross horizontally, from one building to another. And if you fall, you're dead. Well, they'd have to do that here. And there's this whole sequence where they'll have to get across the ladder. So there's just all kinds of really just wonderful set pieces, I think, throughout the whole film.
All throughout, yeah.
And then you get Gale comes in. And so let's talk about that for a second, because I've sat with it and I'll keep sitting with it. But I have to admit, when I first saw the stuff, there was some stuff I did not like. And some of it was the creative decisions, how the character of Gale Weathers was handled. I thought it was a total misstep, and it rubbed me the wrong way, and I felt like it was a total misunderstanding, and I thought it was cheap to say that she wrote a book about all this in a way, because I thought that Gale had come like such a long way
from doing stuff like that. Yeah,
that it seems like Gale in 1996 would have done that, but to me, Gale now, after all this, I couldn't believe, and I looked to my girlfriend I was watching it with, and she had the same kind of reaction. And I didn't like the whole punching thing. I thought that it's just so forced. Can we stop trying to remake those exact moments? So and then I also, the other scene that really didn't work for me much is there's a lot of Scream 2 love in this movie, which is great. Scream 2 is great. It deserves love. But when they're in the campus and the whole cast is there, I thought, man, that looks like Scream 2. But just some of the rules, at this point, are nonsense. At this, I know people love those scenes, but I don't know. This time especially, it felt to me like I don't need that anymore. I don't know why, but it just seems like I'll tell you what, it did take me out of it. Anytime we really took those big swings back towards Scream fans, and I know it's so hard to walk that kind of, tightrope with these movies. But maybe I'm nitpicking, because I did have a really good time, but we did talk, and I liked it a lot. My girlfriend didn't really like it. She liked 5 a lot more than this. She liked the other one that they made, but this one didn't really.
I think I did too. Honestly, I think I like 5 a lot more than this one.
I like them both, and the thing about Scream 5, I've had the opportunity to sit with it for a year and see it multiple times, and see it on theater and see it at home.
Right.
I've seen Scream 6 one time. I was I'm going to write about it, and then this morning I was I can't even do that until I see it a second time. I didn't necessarily love the villains.
The same thing lately. I'm should I go see it again too?
I don't even, but the villain to reveal stuff, I didn't really care for that much.
I found that to be some of the weakest in the franchise at the very end.
Yeah, I thought it was up there with Scream 3 in terms of weakness. I don't think anything's going to be.
Because why else would you cast him, right? I mean, he's such a veteran actor. He has to be something.
I kept saying he was going to be the killer, and then it got more and more obvious.
I felt that coming a mile.
You're talking about Dermot Mulroney, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, me too. I thought that was absolutely. At first, I thought it was a red herring, right? But then they kind of make him act like some kind of weird savant, like he's almost a Dewey substitute. And for some reason, his quirkiness just seemed a little bit like there was a little too bit of weirdness going on. A little bit, his kookiness didn't match. And I think that might have been intentional, you know what I mean? Because he is playing this crazy psychotic. But I just kind of immediately went with him. Everything else they kept throwing at me, and they do throw a lot of red herrings at you in true Scream fashion. None of them really stuck with me. The whole time I kind of thought, and he kept not dying. I thought, I just thought he was probably the killer. And then it's another one, but let's be honest here too. I think that the first Scream, obviously, the reveal is great. The reveal is awesome. And then I think in Scream 4, you have Emma Roberts, and that great Emma Roberts as Jill, and that great turn. She is awesome. But most of the time, I don't think that the killer reveals are that awesome, to be fair. I think in Scream 5, they're great. I think Amber and Jack Quaid are some of the best. I think that's some of the best third acts.
Jack Quaid is one of the best male villains in that franchise.
I think both of them are up there. Yeah, both of them.
I have them up there with Skeet and Matthew Lillard, of course. But
this movie has 3 villains, and I don't think,
and they don't have the same bite to it at all.
None of them rise to any level. They're kind of like at the bottom. They're kind of like
Yeah.
at the bottom.
They Spider-Man 3 the ending a lot.
They really did. The third act just kept getting that, and that whole shrine thing just got. I kind of thought the whole thing was going to be a dream or something at one point because I just kept
that
trying.
Would have been pissed me off the whole.
Me too. I kept thinking about the plausibility though of that layer, and I just like kept seeming more and more ludicrous to me the more it went on. And I know I'm not trying to say that Scream needs to be more realistic. It's fine. I'm just kind of saying that like, it just became like a thing that was hard for me to deal with, as
something, right?
Yeah, it just kept not really. I'm trying to think of how it's not that it just didn't work.
Nagging at you, kind of.
Yeah, it just kept kind of, it felt a little Scooby Doo. Like, and I know that there is a Scooby Doo element to Scream, especially with the Gale Weathers part. So, here, and as I said, like I said, I'm still very moldable on my final feelings about Scream 6. But all in all, like, here's the thing: all that stuff aside, the set pieces are some of the best in the entire franchise history. The set pieces, the chase scenes, the kill scenes are the nastiest and the bloodiest. And Roger L. Jackson, the ghost voice throughout the whole franchise, is as gnarly as ever. And all that stuff supersedes the other stuff to me. Like, all that stuff knocks that, at least on first watch. But the person I was with had a much more reaction than I did. I was pretty happy. I was pretty
psychiatrist or the therapist there. Like, that was one of the better kill scenes in that film.
Yeah, it was, but that whole psychiatrist subplot seems so tedious and useless, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree, but I just thought that was
that whole thing out. You could have cut that whole thing out, and it just seemed weird tonally to me. I remember I didn't think there were certain scenes in it, right, that felt just out of place with the movie that I was watching. There were certain scenes just tonally like that one. I'd forgotten about that. I'm glad you brought that up. Both times that and I like that actor. I can't think his name. He was in this movie called The Righteous that's on Arrow. It's amazing. Everybody should watch that. The Righteous on Arrow player.
That sounds familiar. What decade did that come out in?
It's pretty new. It's like last year.
Okay.
The Righteous. It's in black and white.
Yeah, because I think I got a screener invite to it, and for some reason I didn't have enough time to get to it.
I'm sure you did. It's a new film. We just randomly watched it when it came on Arrow Player, and it's.
I need to give that app much more love. I haven't really watched anything from it.
Oh, and he was in Ready or Not as well. Like, he's worked with Radio Silence before. He was the father.
Was he the dad in that?
He was the patriarch in that family. Yeah, he was the dad.
Yeah.
The evil board game family. Yeah. So he, you had that kind of fun stuff for Radio Silence fans because you have him, you have Samara Weaving. I'm trying to think. I don't want to leave anything necessarily out that I thought was really cool. The subway too. That's another set piece.
The subway was amazing.
Yeah. And let's talk. The core four,
and that was intense too. That was probably the best part of the whole film, was just that subway sequence.
Yeah, I like that. I think my favorite sequence is when they're in the apartment and the neighbor sees the murder.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, that's awesome. And you know what? He stole the whole show too.
Yeah. Well, it kept going. Like, each set piece would like lead to another one, because then that leads to the ladder, which leads going. Everybody's on the run. Gail's apartment was great too. That because you finally get that Gail call, because Gail's never got a call. Did you know that? Did you realize that?
Yeah.
That's the first time Gail's ever got a call in the franchise history.
So you knew something was going to go down
and that was awesome. Like, the whole thing with that whole sequence was just really great, and it was just really beautiful, I thought. And you didn't, it's funny having the character watching Jason Takes Manhattan, because that's another franchise
as well. Yeah,
but this is done No offense, this is done so much better than that.
Oh, of
I
course.
think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, Jason Takes Manhattan is a cool poster. That's it.
And at the end of the day, that's what most of the Friday the 13th movie come down to for me. It's like the
Oh,
poster.
you're
Like
stepping
I got a
into
hot take here. I just am not a fan of Friday the 13th.
hey, that's fine. I don't give a shit.
I
They're
mean,
not
I love
sacred.
Jason Goes to Hell, not because I'm friends with Adam Marcus, because that's the one I grew up on the
I'll
most
tell you
was
what's cool as shit is
Jason
that,
Goes to
like,
Hell.
if you really like Jason Goes to Hell, you're probably not a big Friday the 13th fan. You know what I mean? Because, like,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know too many Friday the 13th fans that like that movie. I like that movie
Well,
all
yeah,
right.
I mean, I said I'm not a huge Friday the
Yeah.
13th fan to begin with. Like, I thought the original was if it
Which
wasn't for
ones do I
Kevin
like?
Bacon.
I like the first one. I like the first one all right. It's all right. It's all right. I think they're all kind of all right. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. They're fun for the campy vibes of
not
it,
all
but
of them. Not all of them, but like the first few, like the first four. You know what? If I was
which
going to
one
tell,
was the one with the chimichanga guy?
that's five. That's the one with the imposter Jason. I do like that a lot. But I'll
Yeah,
tell you
yeah,
what,
that one, yeah.
if I was going to tell somebody to watch a quintessential Friday the 13th film, one before they died, if someone wanted to know, it's obviously got to be four, The Final Friday with Corey. Tom Savini did the
Well,
makeup. You got Corey Feldman with this little kid that makes the masks, and you kill, unquote, Jason, kill him. And that was supposed to be the last one. That one's great. That's got everything you need.
that is a good one, yeah. I did enjoy
Yeah.
that one too. So I kind of enjoy a few of them, but
Yeah, they're fine. But I was more of a Nightmare on
I
Elm
did
Street
enjoy
kid.
the
I was more
remake
of
a
a,
lot more than the original.
oh, did you? The remake's okay. I didn't enjoy it better than the old ones per se, but it's fine. I don't have any problem with it. It was all right. I trying to think of anything about that movie I remember. Yeah, that was like 2009. That's actually the last
Yeah.
time we've got a Friday the 13th movie. So
Because of
I'm
course
moving.
SS Sean S. Cunningham is a dick, but other than that.
That's again, you
If you
said
hear
it.
this song,
You're throwing the
fuck you.
You're throwing the grenades out there tonight. Just no, there's the new Crystal Lake, the Hannibal guy, Brian Fuller. That'll be good.
A24, yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to be a Friday the 13th fan for that, but of course, I think the Friday the 13th fans are excited for that. Obviously.
So your Scream rankings, where would Scream 6 land in this?
Right now, my Scream rankings. This is just tentative Scream ranking is
right. Because we still haven't gotten the chance to watch this one at home either.
Right. I want to catch it in the theater one more time if I can too. So I would go 1, 2, 5, 4, 6, 3.
Okay.
And I love all these movies. I love all these movies. So
I may surprise you here a little bit.
Go ahead.
But I'm going to go Scream 1, of course. Then I'm going to go Scream 5.
Right on.
Then Scream 4.
Yeah.
Then Scream 6.
4 is great.
Then Scream 2. Then Scream 3.
You're breaking up on me, buddy. I didn't get you ranking.
So my ranking is Scream, Scream 5, Scream 4,
okay,
Scream 6, Scream 2, and then Scream 3.
I think we both regard. No, you have Scream 6 in the 4th place. I have it in 5th place, which similar though, not far off. We both put 3 in last place as well. I got love for 3. It's not as good because Aaron Kruger wrote it. That's why it doesn't feel right because he didn't know the characters in Israel. But you know what's fucking stupid about it is that stupid voice changer that has everyone's face on it.
And the only reason I'd watch Scream 3 again is for the Jay and Silent Bob cameo, which I can easily find on YouTube. I mean, that's the only reason to watch it again. Come on.
It is not as good as the other Scream films. It is
it doesn't even feel like a Scream movie when you watch it.
Yeah, it's got a different. What I do like about it is all the Courtney Cox Scooby Doo stuff where her and Parker Posey are hanging out. I like that stuff. But yeah, it's so much of it is so ridiculous. Like that whole sequence where they go in and they keep getting faxes from Ghostface, and then they light the lighter and the gas blows up.
I forgot about the faxes from Ghostface. Ugh.
And then, the faxes lead to the guy lighting a lighter, and the whole house blows up and kills him. And then, like, they roll down this hill a ridiculously long time. They roll down.
We know the Scream franchise isn't really logic with how it thinks. But there's Scream 3 is like on a different level.
It really is. And then that voice changer thing where it's just got, how does he have all these people's voices in it? It never even tells us. We're just supposed to go, oh, okay. He's got that thing.
That makes sense. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he's got that thing. Which totally isn't a real thing, especially at the time. I mean, I can't do that now. I can't just call up you and be 20 of my closest friends. It's crazy. It's crazy. Scream 3 is really out there. It really is. And it's also weird for the whole subplot about Maureen Prescott going to Hollywood and basically getting raped by a bunch of Hollywood executives when the Weinsteins produced this movie. Pretty weird.
I mean, that's really the most accurate thing about Scream 3. That's pretty much it.
Lance Henriksen is basically like Harvey Weinstein in that movie.
Dude, that is crazy. I forgot he was even in that.
Yeah, he's the director of Stab 3 in it. No, he's not. He's the studio head. He's the producer. I mean, my teen years were, I was super cool. You can already tell. You can already tell. I remember the first time I saw Scream 3 was one of those movies I saw twice, like on opening weekend, because I was just confused at how not cool it was. No, it's okay. It's still okay. It's got some good stuff. Oh, did you forget about Neve Campbell's dead mother? Talking to her in her dreams?
Yeah, I did, because it's been so long. I've only seen it one time, dude.
Aaron Kruger wrote the Ring remake that had been a big hit like the year before, and Harvey Weinstein was, I want you to put some of that energy into this Scream movie I got you writing, Scream 3. And he does that by having Maureen Prescott come up all in a nightie with green face going, Sydney. And then she's like in a body bag in one part.
Was it like Mother Dearest at that point?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. You get like ghost. You just got you get like long hair ghost woman. So it's pretty wild. It's a wild trip. Yeah.
Man, if that's still on Paramount Plus, now I just got to watch it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a bonkers watch. Yeah.